Welcome! In this series of short videos, we will look at topics common to both the PowerBasic console and Windows compilers. Today we will look at the use of a Code Reporter DLL to store your code as coloured HTML documents. The code we're going to make use of today exists within a PowerBasic DLL. This code was originally written back in 2003 by one of the leading lights of the PowerBasic community. It says a great deal for the longevity of the code and for PowerBasic in that the code, after all these years, still compiles in the most recent version of PowerBasic and is fully functional. The purpose of the function within this DLL is to take a PowerBasic code file, a .bas file, or a .include file, and turn it into an HTML document, with the syntax of command words color-coded. This DLL can be called either from within the PowerBasic Windows compiler or the console compiler. So in order to make use of this DLL, we have to declare it within an application. To declare such an external function, you mainly have to use the declare function command. This is followed by the name of the function as referred in your code, followed by lib for library, and the name of the DLL that contains the function we're going to use. In this case, we're going to have the DLL in the same folder as your application. As you will see, we have put no path in the name of the DLL. PowerBasic will first look in the folder that contains our executable for this DLL. If it is not found there, it will next look in the Windows System folder. If not found in there, it will start looking through your environment path. But in many cases, since we have the DLL and the source code for it, it's much easier to keep the DLL in the same folder as our executable. The line below the declare is the alias. This is the name of the function within the DLL itself. The name of this function is case dependent. So in this case, the name of the function within the DLL is all lowercase. This is followed by the parameters you wish to pass to the function within the DLL. In this case, we're passing merely one by-value string text variable. And what the function is returning to our application is also a string. This is a folder containing our application. Here we have our executable, and here we have the DLL. I've created an additional folder called HTML, and it's into this folder we're going to deposit the HTML documents. I'll cover the code within the WebCoder DLL itself at the end of the video. So how can we go ahead and take one of our .bas files and turn it into an HTML document? As we will be converting a number of files to HTML documents, we're going to create an array to hold the names and locations of them. So we have dimensioned an str files array for one element, and we have populated that array with the path and the name of our current .bas file. Now we will create a for next loop. Within this for next loop, we're going to be calling a function to call the function within our DLL. So we will create a variable to define our output path, and the output path will be our execution path plus HTML. And we're going to create a new function which we'll call create HTML descriptions. We will pass this two parameters, the first being the name and the path to the file which is a .bas or .include file we want to convert, and the second parameter being the location of the output folder. If that function returns true, then we have successfully managed to find the file and convert it to HTML. And if it returns false, we know that we have been unable to convert the file. So let's create our new function. One of the first tasks of this function is to work out whether the file we have passed it actually exists. This can be quite easily done by using the isFile function. If this returns false, then the file does not exist and there is no point in continuing. So we will just exit the function at that point. We're going to be needing some local variables within this function, so we'll create them at this point. As we're going to be outputting the file to an HTML document, we'll need to determine the name of the file to create. Possibly the easiest way of doing that is to pick off the file name from the string that's been passed in the code file variable. We can do this using the parse command. using the -1 option to read the string from the right hand side. And we'll make use of one of the functions in our file handling library. This will pick up the content of the code file we have been passed, and then another check to make sure that the file content variable does actually have something in it. And I'm going to add to the top of our file content a header. So our header variable contains all the code that was in the code file, plus a header at the top to indicate its file name. Now we are quite simply going to call the function within our DLL. The syntax of that is quite straightforward and looks exactly like you would call any other function within your own code. So we're taking return from this function and populating the HTML variable, and we're passing to that function the value of strHeader. So this will call the function within the DLL and give us our output. And what we're doing next is we're setting up the name of the output file. We're replacing any dots in that with an underline, and then we're appending onto the end of that .html. And our final act within this function is to save the string as a file in our new HTML location. So now that we have compiled our application, we can attempt to run it. At the moment, the HTML folder is completely empty. If we run the application now, it will tell us that one HTML file has been created. And if we have a look in the HTML folder, we can now see that we've got a code reporter _bas.html file. If we double click on that, we will see we now have a color-coded and formatted document. So we can now use this to document all our code files. Let's add some more source files to that array. We've now increased the size of the array to hold 4 values, and we have added on an extra 3 source files, 2 .bas files and a .include file. So if we try running that now, we'll see that it has correctly created 4 HTML documents, and there they are. So what we've achieved is we have created an application which calls a DLL. This DLL has the purpose of converting PowerBasic code files to HTML documents and color coding them. The application using the DLL runs very quickly, so it should have no problems at all converting numerous files. So let's have a look at the source code of the DLL itself. The source code for the DLL is held in a separate folder. And there is our code. So as you will see, the code was created back in 2003. It is a standard PowerBasic DLL. As a standard DLL, it can be called from both the console compiler and the Windows compiler. And here is the function which is exported that we can make use of. Functions inside the DLL that are marked as export are actually visible to the outside world. And this is a function that's doing all the work. This creates the header of the HTML document and the content. All the PowerBasic keywords are stored in a series of data statements. So should there be any additional data statements you wish to add to the list, you can merely amend the data statements and recompile the DLL. DLLs can be recompiled only in the PowerBasic Windows compiler. So what we've achieved today is the ability to document and report on all of our code by creating HTML documents for both .bas and .inc files. These can be stored and displayed from a web server. Hopefully you'll find this code useful in your applications, but that's it for today. Thank you for watching.